Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 60-minute clinic. Today is the 11th of June, 2026. I hope everyone is doing well. Ursula is currently in the wings, but I think was having a couple of technical difficulties. Either that or you're watching this and you can't hear me. So either Ursula's microphone wasn't working or my speakers aren't working or something. But this is the weekly 60-minute clinic, which is, oh, hello. No, still can't hear you. We'll we'll be trying to fix that in the background. So I'm just trying to find our banners first of all. Here we go. So the way this works is if you want to ask a question, there we
Hello.
go. I can hear you. Yeah,
Whoop, whoop.
there we go.
Thank you. Right, I'm back. I'm back, and
Um,
I'm using the right microphone. Sorry to be a Wally.
okay, no problem. So yeah, so I was just saying, if you want to ask a question, you need to like the page if you haven't already, and then private message us. Don't put anything sort of confidential, private in the comments. We will then give you a code name, so you stay anonymous, and then we will read your question out and provide an answer. And Ursula and I are both solicitors during the day, and I suppose all the time. Um, and so, yes, this is just our way of helping people for free because it's very difficult to get any kind of help for free these days in the family law world. It doesn't constitute legal advice. You get what you pay for it, which is nothing. And obviously, if you do feel like you need more help, then you can always come to us. Our first meeting is £180 and it takes as long as it takes. And we mostly do them remotely, so it also doesn't matter where you are. So, without further ado, shall we start with our first question? Actually, I should say, currently I think we've actually got only 2 questions that are in the queue. So if anyone does want to ask a question, we will definitely get to you. So actually, the first question that we're going to start with was from someone who we accidentally forgot last week. So sorry about that. But this is going to be Crabapple. And I'm just going to say,
Also,
answer it.
code names. What code names are we doing?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought of a.
I tell you what. Let's do streets in London. I'll do that. I'll do these.
Okay.
So I'm going to send somebody a code name called Bond Street.
Okay. And so this is Crabapple from when we were doing, I don't know, types of tree or something.
Types of apple.
Yeah. Hello, this service and Maria Crocker have helped me a lot. So thank you. Shout out to Maria. I'm hopefully nearing the end of a 5.5-year divorce journey. Financial consent order was signed and sealed in December 2025, but my ex is delaying. The order stipulated that I would get solo mortgage on former family home while ex retained rental property and profits from that, larger pension and family car. I managed to get a mortgage in March, and ex says they have just accepted one, but is in no hurry to complete. FDA was last July. Meanwhile, current mortgage on the former family home has moved to a much higher rate. My ex won't allow me to ask for a payment holiday while we sort it all out. However, ex is still just paying the same amount of child maintenance, and I can't afford to be on this rate. Also, my new mortgage offer will expire at the start of September. Grateful for any advice at all on whether I can hustle my ex along somehow or make it all financially more sustainable while they delay. Ex has said they might consider moving more quickly if I paid all the legal fees and the ERC early repayment charge on the house they will have. I've offered half the ERC, but can't do more. Thank you in advance. Oh, well, that's sounds very inconvenient, doesn't it, Crabapple? I think what you need to do is go back to your order because I would be surprised if this is all open-ended. And if I'm understanding correctly, the house is being transferred into your name, and he is getting the rental property into his name, if that's in your joint names currently, is that there must be some kind of deadline on that. Either I would expect a deadline, this must happen by this date, or something, or what we call a backstop order. So if it hasn't happened by this date, then the property goes on the market and is sold, and that's how you basically release yourself from being enmeshed in each other's financial worlds, and not be in this position. So I think, Crabapple, you need to go and properly have a read of your order. Maybe take it to Maria so she can explain it to you properly, and see what it really says. If it does say he has to have, signed it over to you by this date, and he hasn't done that, then you may need to think about what's called using your liberty to apply. There will probably be towards the end of the order something called a liberty to apply provision. The wording will be there is liberty to apply for the, I can't remember the wording now.
That's the implementation and timing.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And that essentially gives you a route back to the court, in which you can say, we've missed the deadline for this. He was supposed to do this by this date. Judge, can you just sign for him, basically? And the judge has the power to transfer property or do whatever when the other person named in the order isn't doing it, is refusing to implement the order. So I think around those areas are what you need to do. But I think probably you would really benefit from having another meeting with Maria, and she can explain it to you properly, is what I think.
Yes, agreed. Because the court can make orders about payments of the house pending all this going on. That's in the gift of the court. And I think that a judge would be sympathetic, particularly if you're sort of staring down the barrel of a new mortgage rate, realizing that it simply makes the order unworkable if it isn't either hurried up or somehow untangled. So, yeah, I think that's very, very difficult. Going on to our next question. Oh, I'm sticking a bit. I'm lagging a bit, but hoping this works. So, Bond Street, let's do you now. Hi, I'd like to ask a question, please, says Bond Street. My child hasn't seen her father in 4 years, and I have no contact with him, as he hasn't given me any up-to-date contact details. He has applied for a C100 to start contact. I have a holiday booked in August, and I need his permission for my child to go. He has a solicitor. Am I allowed to contact his solicitor with details of the holiday and ask for my child's father's permission? What other options do I have? Bloody hell. I mean, yes, I suppose so. Okay. Here's the law. It is potentially, note words chosen carefully, potentially a criminal offence for someone to remove a child from the jurisdiction of England and Wales without the permission of all those who hold parental responsibility. Now, as a general rule, when my kids were growing up, I didn't ask my husband, who I lived with and was happily married to, could you kindly sign something that allows us both to take our kids to France, right? Because it was a tacit acceptance that, of course, if we wish to go on holiday, we could go on holiday. Didn't have. So there's nothing in procedural law or some sort of form that the British government insist on you having something filled out. Okay, there's not a form for this. Where it all goes south is when parental responsibility is used as leverage to stop another parent who are just, trying to provide nice events and experiences for their child out of control and controlling behavior and leveraging behavior and using, a father using or a mother using their PR, their parental responsibility, with a view to sticking a spanner in the works, basically. So I suppose my question for you is, have you, well, I suppose there is some kind of unhappiness, isn't there? Because he has issued proceedings. So we can't get away from the fact that he's got the hump about something and he's clearly eggy. And you must have concerns, I suspect, about 4 years no contact, and now we're jumping in with an application to the court, which doesn't seem wildly child focused, but maybe there are reasons for that. So you're certainly allowed to contact his solicitor with details of the holiday, and you can, if you wish to, ask for the dad's permission. Other than that, I guess you don't have any other options. If he says no, then I think the thing to point out to them is how that plays out in the family courts in due course. You know, this is the kind of person who's really leveraging his PR and actually stopped us going on holiday in August. Alternatively, I would suggest you ask nicely, okay? I wouldn't go in all guns blazing. I think you want to preserve a level of diplomacy in this. Like, don't go in all trumpety, okay? That's, I think, an important point. But on the other hand, I can see how annoying it is. It's like you're doing all the heavy lifting and now you can't go on holiday because he's being a wally. So I think it's probably diplomatic, but think diplomatically rather than, outrageously or outragedly. So that would be my advice. So yes, write to the solicitor. I mean, if you have no particular connections to another country, I just can't see why they're saying no unless they're being really controlling. And it will be an example of controlling behaviour if he says no without a good reason. So, yeah, I think it's potentially a problem, but hopefully not. So there you go. That's a bit of a wishy-washy answer, but there you go. That's what I think. George, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when is it not in the best interest of a child to go on a holiday every now and then,
Exactly.
during school holidays? Yeah.
100%.
And if you're saying these are the dates I'm going, this is the date I'm coming back.
Yeah.
We'll be staying here, and here's evidence that I've booked it all, or this is what I intend to book. Yeah, I think it's not a stretch to argue that that's a good thing for the children.
Right. Yeah. Dog Biscuit has a great question. Hi, Dog Biscuit. I am Dog Biscuit here, in fact. I'm wondering if the ES1 is the statement of issues or if they're separate, please. Also, does this need to be sent to the other party? Thank you. So, I know why this confusion comes. It's because they haven't really joined up the form you get when you issue proceedings, and it says you've got to file a statement of issues, a chronology. I mean, I think, George, it's been a while since I've looked at one, but it still says, doesn't it? You've got to file a statement of issues, chronology, and a questionnaire if you want one at court, plus a Form G. And in the olden days, i.e. about 10 minutes ago, they used to be separate documents. But I think the ES1 is the statement of issues, as well as, in its own way, it's almost a position statement. I think it's almost a codified form of position statement. And I can tell you that it is the first thing that judges look at. ES1, ES2. It's just all there in two forms, bang, ready to go. So, yeah, I'd say don't worry about a separate standalone statement of issues. You might find putting a chronology together helpful if that is useful for you, but not if it's not relevant, don't worry about it. I mean, is anybody going to yell at you? No. Please don't tell the Law Society I said they're stupid documents, you don't need to worry about them. But oh, brilliant, more pieces of paper. Happy day. And should you send it to the other side? Yes, you should, because if you notice, the ES1 and indeed the ES2, the idea is you have a go on them, you send it to the other side and say, you have half, you need to say what you want in your half. He or she, Mr. or Mr. Dog Biscuit doesn't get to change your bit, you don't get to change his bit. Everybody has to say what they want to say on one document. That is the point of that. Does that make sense? Hope it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the big news for family lawyers this week has definitely been cohabitation law.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's back in the news again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So what people are, there is a consultation out at the moment, which is all about the reform of law so that there becomes a cohabitation framework. And I think from memory, they said if you have a child together, that would bring you into the regime, or if you've lived for at least 3 years together. So I think where that takes us is that cohabitation agreements are going to become more and more important. So people will need, if they're going to, if you're going to shack up together, you really need to think about this. And of course, if you're going to have a child together and you don't think about it, well, you'll get drawn into it. So I mean, not being funny, but I think this is news for men. I
Yeah.
would say this is news for the men of the world who can't just poke about with consequences that they can walk away from. So I think that's quite an interesting rebalancing, actually.
Yeah, I hadn't actually, I mean, it's not something I've looked at closely this week. I hadn't realized it's also going to cover, yeah, people who have children. So
That's
that
what
is,
I understand, and I'm quite interested in that, because if that would mean that just because you didn't put a ring on it, there would still be consequences if things are going to start being shared on need. And I think they're also going to do something about Schedule 1 of the Children Act. So when people are not married, but they have children together, there is a very difficult to access, I would say, and not a well-trodden path in the Children Act, Schedule 1 to the Children Act, where sometimes in the right circumstances, you can use that to top up or obtain resources, money, not pensions, but enough money, say, for school fees. Often it's used with rich people, basically. The other place you can use it is where the where the Child Maintenance Service has no jurisdiction, because the paying parent lives outside of the jurisdiction. And very specifically, the company that pays them is registered outside of the jurisdiction. That's the key to being outside the CMS regulations. So like people who are just on secondment in the Brussels office, if the headquarters is in Britain, they don't get to say that they're not inside the Child Maintenance Service. But people who are paid by literally a company that isn't British jurisdiction can get themselves outside the CMS, for what it's worth. So the Children Act is sometimes used for that. But that's such an expensive, and it's not got the nice rhythms that the Matrimonial Causes Act, and it just doesn't have the kind of well-travelled path that
yeah,
that does it. I can't remember the last time I did a Schedule 1 application, a long time ago.
yeah. I mean, I think reforming the law, or actually making some law around around non-married parents and the financial duties and responsibilities that arise from that, beyond child maintenance, is like
Yeah.
100 years to, they should have done that ages ago,
Shouldn't
basically.
they
So
just?
the
Yeah.
fact that
Yeah.
they're properly talking about it now is great, but it's also,
I hope it's
it's also,
retrospective, by the way. That would
oh
be
really?
interesting, won't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Retrospective. Well, that's 18 years of back pay to be considered.
yeah,
Kids who were 16 and mums who got dumped and left high and dry. Be interesting if they could claim, wouldn't it, retrospectively?
it absolutely would. I mean,
Right.
it's just extraordinary. We've spoken about this on here, haven't we? How,
Mm,
how many people are forced into, for example, claiming universal credit when dad
yeah.
isn't paying child
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Is like, why have they not sorted that out? Is extraordinary. But it's also strange that, there's this emphasis on reforming, cohabitation rights and things like that, when perhaps there should have been, or should still be, more of an education
Oh,
that
no.
cohabiting is like, the legal framework around that is empty. essentially, and compared to being married. And so many people don't know that.
Also, I mean, and they made civil partnerships, so you didn't have to get married. You know, if marriage is your objection, they've made civil partnerships. But it's that the question is, should there be a law that has people drift into a fiscal relationship without them realizing it, or should it be something that people have to enter into? So they're also talking about a right to opt out. But I mean, that doesn't sound like a recipe for love, does it? Like, can we live together, but definitely not be financially dependent on each other? You know, let's have some children, but very much not a bill to be laid at my door. You know, and by the way, let's not get married. I mean, that's like, oh, lovely.
Yeah.
So nice. I don't know. And then they wonder why people aren't having children.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, we don't have many questions, George. That's the facts.
No, it's strange, isn't it? How sometimes
Last week, yeah, madness. This week, Billy No Mates. But yeah, anybody wants to have a chat about something, we can do that. Otherwise, we're probably getting close to done, aren't we?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Oh, okay. Well, oh no, there's a comment. Who's saying what? I think the law on dads underworking deliberately, that's an interesting comment, to avoid child, and trying to show unnecessary needs. Well, the CMS generally is a shit show, I think we can all fairly say. I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that. I mean, as soon as there's a level of self-employment, there's a big element of cheating. You know, please don't get me wrong. I think it's a significant minority who want to cheat. It's not every man. It's not every non-resident parent. And there may be really good reasons for people to use the CMS. You know, they've fallen out a bit and the CMS just straightened everybody out. But there is so much poverty for children because the CMS doesn't work and it doesn't have teeth. That's the reality. And if it's not a straightforward employment situation, they just don't know how to sort it out. It's absolutely infuriating. But yeah. Well, where does that take us?
I think.
Oh, no, we might. What's going on here? Oh, that's nice. Starfish, thank you. And thank you for saying so. Starfish says, thank you for your time, help, and advice, and keep up the great work. Well, we will. We won't give up. We don't think nobody loves us. We just think it's been a quiet Thursday. I think that's what we're saying. So if that's everything, then I think it's good night from both of us.
Yeah, so just the 25-minute clinic for today.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, we have the 60-minute clinic marathon on the 19th. Oh, Bhavana. She's asking more questions. You want us to tell you what happens at the first hearing in finance and then an FDR? First hearing in finance. Right, George, you do the first hearing.
Okay, well, the first hearing is it's called an FDA, so first directions appointment or financial.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah, first financial directions appointment. God, I can't even remember what it is called. First directions appointment.
Essentially, that's the disclosure stage. So it is an opportunity for the court to make the necessary directions to ensure that the financial disclosure is completed, so that we can move on to the negotiations and actually trying to settle this thing. So it might be, for example, the judge needs to make a decision on what questions are relevant and need asking. It might be the judge needs to make some directions for the house to be valued. It might be that you need to have an expert instructed on what's called a Part 25 application. For example, if there are complicated pensions in the mix and you need a report about that, or maybe there's a business and you need the business to be valued, then all of those kind of issues are dealt with at the first hearing. And to ensure that, we know what the value of assets are, or we know what income something is going to generate, so that we have a full understanding of what the pot is in order to then move on to the next stage, leading up to the FDR, which then Ursula will explain to you about.
So yes, the FDR is an opportunity for the parties to settle their financial disputes, and it is judge-led. It really is worth investing in your FDR, because the FDR is the point where you can make it all go away by cutting a deal. And I find that there tend to be two vibes. One is we're turning up, we're not settling, and we're not really putting any effort in. And the other vibe is we'll settle for anything. We just want it to stop. And people can be persuaded then to take a dodgy deal that they probably shouldn't have taken. So the FDR is where you should, if you can afford it, have representation. But let's just assume that you don't, okay? What you want to do is have a concise speech ready for the judge, and it's okay for you to say, I've actually made a speech. Is it okay if I read it out? I don't think any judge would have any beef with that, especially if you preload that by saying it is not more than 3 minutes long, or 5 minutes long, or however. And during that speech, what you do is you explain to the judge, firstly, you hit all the notes about your needs, and it might go something like this. I need a housing pot of X, which consists of this percentage of the current house, plus my mortgage capacity, which you can see in the bundle, and added together, that makes X £100,000. And so long as I have that, I will be able to house our 2 children and myself, and my husband won't be left high and dry. He will have a housing pot of Y, which consists of maybe less of the matrimonial home and a bigger mortgage, because historically he was the person who worked all the time, and I've done some part-time work, but it's not enough to give me a big mortgage. And that's the split that I think should happen on the house, and it would meet my needs for now. In terms of income, my needs are just about met without spousal maintenance, and I'd rather have a clean break. And it's another reason why I might have more of the house. In terms of my longer term needs, I appreciate I'm going to have to go and do something about pension. But in terms of what we both managed to make between us £150,000 of pension, and we need to divide it up so we both have an equal share. So that's just try and address your long-term, medium-term, income and short-term needs and housing needs. And then the judge should give you an indication, which is code for a sort of judgment that isn't a judgment, on how the judge sees things going. Some judges can be quite definitive. They'll go, this much percent, I'll do that on the pension. And what they'll say is, if this was in front of me as a trial and I heard the evidence and broadly I believed everything that everybody says, I think it's more likely than not that I would go this way or I would go that way. You will not see the same judge at a trial. The judge who does your FDR cannot hear your final hearing if that's as far as you go. As a general rule, whatever you've spent up to and including the FDR, your costs will double. All right. So you should go into an FDR really, really understanding the cost of not settling, because that's the litigation cost. Let's say it will cost you 50 grand to go to final hearing. Well, fine, but that is your litigation cost, and you need to really think carefully as to whether the numbers stack up. FDRs are very, very important, and if you can afford representation at one hearing, I would, an FDR is worth investing in. I think, especially a lot of the time, it's just not straightforward, is it? There's an extra thing, like there's either a short marriage or there's been an inheritance or somebody gambled it half a mortgage away or something. There's always some shenanigans, always with a twist. So, yeah.
And it is a relatively high percentage of cases that do settle at the FDR or very shortly after. So they are, they do work most of the time, not unfortunately all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
We've just got another question.
We have. This was Lampshade.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just... Lampshade... 4 kids. We did this last week. Child maintenance failed to get them a penny for over a year. Did the appeal tribunal thing. He's making a civil claim for fraud. Oh yeah, this is the nutcase who was making a civil claim for fraud because Lampshade gave him the girlfriend's address. And he's just a really selfish prick. There you go, and etc. etc. Okay, so Lampshade says, me again, HMRC says he earned £125,000 last year and now must pay more after the annual review. He's appealed and going for variation and a change in circumstances. Will I ever get anything? I've already applied for tribunal as I believe the CMS have failed me. Has not had a penny in over a year since applying. All I can say, Lampshade, is that you've got further than many other people. Keep going. Keep going. Do not back down. Remember, arrears never die with the CMS. They never die. Do not stop your claim, for goodness sake. Let those arrears plus interest build up. And then the minute that man thinks he's safe, wallop him. Just track him down. Just keep going. You know where he lives. He's realised he's going to have to pay, and eventually they'll get some money out of him for you. And it could be, it could be really helpful. Could be at least some sort of a house deposit. Maybe a part rent, part buy, or something to give you some security. And remember, you can tell Universal Credit that any money you've got as a lump sum is actually for housing, and they will not stop your Universal Credit for at least a year while you sort yourself out. So don't forget that. So just keep going. Do not fall over and decide you can't be dealing with it. You're doing better than a lot of people. So let's keep going with that. Right, George, what's next?
Dog Biscuit is now asking a follow-up. So I'm just going to say, I'm answering now. Thank you for answering another one. Thank you for answering another one. Respondent has not disclosed all of his things and even that he is cohabiting. To be honest, I'm not bothered about any of this. I just want to make sure the house is safe for the kids and I. Is this worth saying in court? I'm not bothered about his cash he's kept hidden. I just want the house transferred over for a fair price. Well, I mean, non-disclosure is not an unserious thing. I guess I would ask how much you think he's not disclosing. If it's £5,000 or something, that is not gonna no one that's not gonna change the outcome very much. But if it is big money, 20, 30, 40 grand, then that's a chunk of the matrimonial pot probably. And if you are successful in establishing that he has done that he is hiding stuff, then a judge is going to be very cross with him and is then probably going to be a lot more sympathetic to your case, I would have thought. So I certainly can't advise you to ignore non-disclosure of assets ever. And I would ask how as well if he's got money that he hasn't disclosed, because there is a rule, by the way, for example, if you have a bank statement that shows that, he's got this bank account that he hasn't disclosed, you can't just send it to the court and say, by the way, here's his disclosure that I'm making for him. Because there was a case called Immerman, which established that you can't do that. You would essentially need to, I suppose, take a photocopy of it and then send it to him, serve it on him, and say, I know you've got this, you need to disclose it, and if you don't, I'm telling, and give him the opportunity to do that. So yes, but I think it does depend on the amount of money you think he is hiding. The other thing you were just saying, whether he's in a relationship, or whether he's cohabiting. What we're not bothered about really is when people are in other relationships. That happens. He's entitled to have other relationships. But what we are interested in is when, yes, people are properly living together in a way that they are sharing the living costs. Because that is relevant when we're talking about future needs. Because if he or she is saying, I need this amount of money to pay my mortgage every month and, the bills and all of this stuff, actually they won't be, because they'll be splitting the cost 50-50, or it's expected. So if they are in a proper cohabiting relationship in which they are sharing the household, essentially, then that is relevant. And again, I'd be asking how you know this, what evidence is there? I'd be looking in the bank statements. Is it showing that he or she is not paying, the water and the gas or whatever, because other partner is paying that? What evidence do you have to show that that there is a cohabiting relationship going on? But I think it's sensible, the court needs to know about these things. This is all part of the duty of disclosure, and disclosure is absolutely very important. And you need to get the best outcome for you, and in order to do that, you and the court need to know the full extent of the financial landscape.
Yeah, it makes judges really irritated when they know somebody's being sneaky. So they just know that they feel like they're being cheated. So it's a funny, I think the way judges think is they're not silly, and it depends what this person does. If this person is running a limited company with someone with more than one shareholder, the reality is that real stealing is quite unusual. But they're just, if somebody's in trade and they're doing 10 grand's worth of cash a year, you won't struggle to get a judge to believe that. You won't struggle. They'll be like, yes, not surprised. They're not silly. So sometimes it's better to raise that and put in what's called prejudice with a small p. You don't make a big thing of it. It's just a throwaway comment. You're the wife, right? So you know, and the judge will believe You'll just say, of course, although I'm sure the respondent has disclosed what goes through the books, we can see what goes through the books. One of the things that probably won't surprise you, Judge, is that it is literally an everyday facet of his life to do smaller jobs for cash. So at all times, there's probably between 7 to 10 grand floating in cash, which he uses for his petrol. And it just lightens the load. I'm not saying that it's a large amount, but there are extras that you're not seeing. You just leave it like that and then you move on. That's how you do it. That's how you do it when you're talking to a judge. Income needs, Bhavana. Yes, I know it's very annoying. Don't forget, on our website, I specifically did a how to sort your income needs on your For Me blog, which is one of the most read blogs of our whole website. And judges tend to take a broad brush view. Listen, if you try and tell me that somebody with 3 children is living on less than £2,500 a month, I will say that person probably isn't eating every day and is using a food bank. If you're a middle class bloke and you tell me that your wife needs to make do on 3 grand, I will say I think that's really tough. Judges understand the cost of living, because that is the cost of living these days. It's basically, it's expensive, and kids even, this isn't private school cost of living. This is normal people cost of living. It's really expensive. So yeah, I think broad brush figures, you really don't need to do like and 63p. Just try and think of the basics. The judges understand how much things cost. Don't forget credit card debt. Don't forget, if you're making pension payments, to put that in. Look on the blog on the website. I already thought this through. It's there, free for everybody to use. Okay, well, don't know. That seems about that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Are we going to tell everybody your news, George?
I don't. Well, yeah. Well, I suppose we are. Yeah. So for everyone watching, I am actually going to be taking my leave from Family First, very sadly, and will also be hanging up my family law boots as well. because I am going to be joining the Army Legal Service
Yes.
in the next, well, basically in September is when I start. So yeah, very sad. Going with, yeah, definitely a lot of sadness, but obviously excited about next chapter in life. I suppose I will still be around for maybe one or two more Facebooks. We'll see. But yes, this is just to announce that there will be a new face replacing me in the next sort of month or so, or maybe even next week. But
yeah, I think Rebecca will be coming because we've got a new person who's joined us, and she's very bubbly and very lively, and she's shown an interest in carrying on the baton of Family First's Facebook. Honestly, I think it'll be 100 years. It'll probably be there'll be some sort of centenary at some point, won't there? We'll just like never not be doing it. But at which point it'll be AI, so whatever.
yeah.
But we will. I mean, I know everybody will miss you, and I know you've done incredible work over Facebook. You know, it's the little things, isn't it? It's like the knocking off after a hard day at the coalface, having dinner, and then realizing you've got to get back on your computer and save the world. It's not always as easy as it looks, and you've been a real stalwart of this, and we will really miss you. But you are going to have a uniform, and you will be Captain George. So I mean, that is very exciting, and we want a picture, and we will put it on Facebook if we're allowed.
I promise. Yeah, that will be provided as soon as possible.
I'm quietly convinced that you will get a sword as well as a hat, and I'm hoping for that very much so. So yeah,
I'll try and find out. Yeah.
Oh, that's really sweet. Oh yeah, you were at the appointment.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, 2020. Oh Lord. Oh yeah, the 60 quid. It was 60 quid for the first appointment and 60 minutes for the 60-minute clinic. Yeah. We kept it as 60 quid because I was too lazy to change the website, but eventually I got my mojo back and realized that I had actually my prices were so hilariously inflationed to death that we were going to go bust if we didn't sort our life out. So then
true. Yeah, no, well, good old days. I mean, it was obviously like I was able to do a lot of meetings in those days, so it kind of got me up to speed very quickly. So
yeah, those are the days, right?
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And oh, hang on a minute, what we got? Oh yeah, okay. Oh, just FYI, Lampshades X is car body repair. Bet he does cash jobs.
There is no doubt. Yeah,
cash jobs. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see you for a few more times, and till then, I think that's probably it from us, isn't it, this evening?
Yeah.
Okay. Cheesy clock, which I'm sure you won't miss, but here we come. Okay. Good night from me.
Bye.